Hello, welcome to Breakfast Central, wherever you're watching us from live this morning, whether it's Hamburg or Brandenburg or Johannesburg. You're welcome to Nigeria's #1 breakfast show, and this is where we bring you up to date with all the news and current affairs happening across the nation. I am Benga Aborowa. Welcome to the program.
And I'm Joe Hansen, welcoming you to Breakfast Central on a Tuesday morning. There's something quite unique about the anchors this morning. It wasn't planned, I must mention. I only think that Benga had snuck somewhere near my window and peeped to see what I was wearing or what I hung on the
automatic.
On the door and
we
said,
feel the pulse of the nation, and it was a Black Monday in parts of Nigeria.
we never knew, we never planned it. That's what I'm saying. How did you guys know? Or should we start having
proper?
Maybe we should drop it on the WhatsApp group. Today's dress code is blue.
Indeed. I mean, I think that it's only very fitting that we all wear black because the nation has been thrown into mourning. Last night, while, a number of us were sleeping, attacks were happening, multiple attacks were happening. Our brothers and sisters were being killed in Borno State, and Maiduguri has been under immense attack, which is quite unfortunate. We'll be looking into the details of the story in a moment, but my name is Olive Emodi, and you're welcome to Breakfast Central. We're streaming live on News Central TV, News Central TV live on YouTube, so please head there, join the live stream, drop your comments, as we often would head to YouTube to pick comments from the comment section. Once again, you're welcome.
Well, we can say once again, you're welcome and thank you so much for joining us. Olive has set the motion and the ball rolling. While you were possibly asleep or you were tucked in bed, or better still, you were enjoying that very interesting movie of yours on either of your streaming platform, fellow Nigerians somewhere, particularly in Maiduguri, were busy running helter-skelter, while some did not even have the opportunity to run because they never thought their life would be cut short in a split second.
I mean, such a sad thing, that's right now. And I feel that there's a bit of a lack of awareness. A number of us are just living our lives with the amount of insecurity that we often have to deal with.
I think it's a sense of hopelessness and resignation to, what can we do? It's in the hands of God, because I mean, it's one. I remember Yelwata. We thought, this was the end. Mr. President went to Benue State, and the outcry was a lot, and then we thought this was going to be the beginning of the end. He made statements. They said they're going to improve security in Nigeria, but we're still back to square one. And the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, #1 citizen, whose primary responsibility is to take care of the lives of Nigerians, will be on his way to the United Kingdom today for state visits on the invitation of King Charles III. But we don't know if he's still going to embark on that trip following this terrible terrorist attack in Maiduguri. But we wait to see what the presidency and the security operatives have to say about this. And it's taken a new dimension. I mean, in the past few months, what we've witnessed is attacks on military posts and military personnel, almost and kidnapping, and attacks on communities. But we've not seen bomb blasts. It's reminiscent of the administration of Goodluck Jonathan, when we used to have IED explosions in mosque in different parts of Abuja and what have you. So this is taken a new dimension. And really, for the ordinary people in Nigeria, for the ordinary citizens, they don't want to know about any excuse if they're on top of the situation. They just want to stop. They want these attacks to stop. So we're seeing violent extremist groups, and we're also seeing kidnapping for ransom at its highest peak. I don't think we've seen kidnapping for ransom at this level before. It's crazy. And
Benga, it's done in the open. It's done glaringly, like they would say. It's no longer hidden. The bandits are no longer hiding their faces. They are even on social media platforms. Brazen. And that will lead us to the next story. We're also going to discuss about how one of them was captured yesterday. One popular TikToker who showcases the ransom that they got in terms of money and so on. And we also saw some put out images yesterday that they've received the 2 bikes that they requested for. How the bikes was able to get to them, that is the motorcycle bikes. Through checkpoints and so that and got to them, we do not know. But we have that information and we're going to share with you. But if you just joined us, this is Breakfast Central. Like Olive did mention, don't forget we're streaming live. Drop a comment or two. It wasn't planned like we said, but of course it's a mourning period for Nigeria. It's a sad moment and we need to take the lead here on Breakfast Central, News Central. We don't want to be part of those who are desensitized, as it were. But we want to also inform you that lives were lost yesterday. So far, so good. There hasn't been a particular figure. Many have said it's 132 persons dead. But just in case you tuned in and you do not know the story, let's inform you that there were bomb blasts.
Multiple bomb
blasts in Maiduguri yesterday.
At 7 p.m.
The areas that were targeted were the Monday market, a market that is known to have a lot of persons. And yesterday, as soon as they broke fast, many of them trooped into the Monday market. It's a popular place. Everybody knows Monday market in Maiduguri. You also have the Maiduguri University Teaching Hospital was equally attacked. And then you also have the post office. So these three areas. We must warn you that the images you'll be looking at on your screen will be very disturbing, but please do find a way to, if you can't, we would also advise that you may want to just listen to the audio voice while you ignore the images. But then again, these are images that are true images emanating from the areas where these bomb blasts, multiple bomb blasts, did take place.
Absolutely. I mean, emergency officials, including NEMA, say that casualties have been recorded with scores injured and several fatalities confirmed as victims were rushed to hospitals for treatment. Security sources believe that some of the improvised explosive devices were planted by suspected Boko Haram insurgents, while others were carried out by female suicide bombers in what appears to be a coordinated attack. The incident comes just hours after security forces repelled a separate pre-dawn assault on a military base in the Aldijari Cross area of the city. Governor Babagana Zulum has since condemned the attacks as barbaric, linking the resurgence to ongoing military operations in the Sambisa forest as authorities continue efforts to manage the aftermath and restore calm. So I think the first thing would be to express our condolences to our brothers and sisters in Borno. I cannot imagine how it feels to be in Borno State at the moment, knowing that you know, they've lost family members, loved ones, friends, and even if they're not related, just the idea that in a moment that is sacred, a moment of Ramadan, few days to the end of Ramadan,
the
Holy Week, you know, they're breaking their fast, and just, you know, before they have their iftar, these explosions happen at a period where there is some sort of, I would imagine that because it's the Holy Week, security will not be as heightened. Because you're not thinking that people in their right senses want to carry out any form of attacks during Ramadan. So that's basically capitalizing on the timing, the fact that there's some measure of vulnerability that the timing brings, because everyone is in the holy mode, in the prayer mode. They're not thinking of protecting themselves from bandits. But then again, the attacks, where the attacks happened, the fact that it happened simultaneously in different places was also very strategic.
Yeah.
Very coordinated, very strategic. Strategic because if you are conducting an attack in front of a market, you know, and you are conducting an attack in front of, what's the other place?
Post office, University Teaching Hospital.
It's basically because
the numbers.
They want, exactly. They want to make a statement. They want to overwhelm emergency response, and that has been done. But what this then does again is that it crushes the counterinsurgency narrative that the current administration has been trying to push. This administration has tried as much as it can, to the tune of paying $9 million to a US-based agency to try and refix our image in terms of our struggles with insurgency. But this pokes a hole and dents the argument of the current administration in terms of the efforts that they're putting towards counterinsurgency. We should not be having this magnitude of attacks.
Absolutely.
At this point, you know, it just feels like Benga said at the start of the show, that there's a sense of hopelessness that citizens feel. Once again, our thoughts and our prayers are with our families and our loved ones in Borno State.
I mean, as we proceed, let's also mention that there are angles that every single Nigerian will be waiting to see this morning. One of the questions that every single person will be asking, and as journalists, is, will the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria address Nigerians today? Will he speak to Nigerians and let Nigerians know that he is aware? And guess what? He's on top of it. I always say this, and I will keep saying it. Maybe it may not happen in our time. Maybe it will happen in the future. In other countries, you will have the president speak to the nation immediately. You would have the CDS. You would have the #1 police, you could say #1 security officer of the state, which is the governor. The governor has dropped a statement already. But Binga, at this point, we have been denied the opportunity
since December. I mean, when was the last time Mr. President addressed us? And like you always make reference to, the Bondi Beach attack.
Of course.
Was a masterclass in crisis management and communication. But what we often see is, you know, release statements, wait for this part to pass. And it will be very embarrassing if the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, no matter how people want to spin it, if he does embark on that travel, because your host will be looking at you. I mean, imagine if your house is on fire.
And then I come to your house, come and visit you.
Are you okay?
But that is sort of what happens. Even when the attacks in Yelwata happened, recall that it almost seemed like we should be celebrating and thanking the president for not traveling because the Yelwata attacks had happened. There's also a lack of reverence that we have attached to loss of lives.
To the sanctity of human lives.
We've lost that reverence. In other countries, things like, flags being flown at half-mast, how, you know, the country has declared 3 days of mourning. We don't have any of that. We just go about. In fact, I haven't seen the papers this morning, but I'm hoping that it will be big story.
7 p.m.
on the front page of the paper. 7 p.m. is still early, so they've had enough time. But what we see sometimes when we hear stories of insecurity, it's just been one corner.
I have a
on the front pages of the papers
from Mr. President Bala Mohammed. He was in the opposition there. 9th of September 2014. It says the festering Boko Haram attacks on the northeast and massacre of innocent citizens is concrete proof that Nigeria has no government. It would be nice for him to respond to this tweet of his, or if he feels the same way in 2026.
As we discuss insecurity issues, let's also mention, we've mentioned the president. The second question anyone should ask again is, what is the National Assembly doing? There was a video that circulated recently. A senator, even though he was wearing the infinity cap, said he was asking his fellow National Assembly, in quotes, fellow senators, what are we doing? Why are we so focused on politicking? People are dying. Why don't we stop whatever we're doing?
The American Congress is more interested in insecurity in Nigeria than our
And he said, why don't we stop and let's focus on insecurity and solve this issue? The National Assembly should also, in a way, ask themselves, what are they really doing? Celebrating those who are moving from one party to the other, while Nigerians' lives, in quotes, lives of Nigerians are being cut short in daily everyday
numbers.
It's everyday numbers. Kidnapping is the order of the day. Monies are being spent.
I mean, there's still people that are in captivity, over 100 that were kidnapped from Kwara.
They're not asking for 100 million naira.
It's really sad that we've come to this position that it feels every time we're talking about insecurity here on the show, it feels that we're talking about it and we'll revisit the conversation sooner than we realize. There's a loss of reverence, a loss of sanctity, and a sense of hopelessness that Nigerians have about the fight against insecurity. And a government that cannot protect its citizens, what really is that government doing? What really is it? It's not about politics and joining affiliations and, you know, celebrating people moving to the APC and saying in the green chambers, clap for them, APC, clap for them, in a country where hundreds are being killed. Let's see what the National Assembly
is sharing rights as an economic policy.
Exactly. Let's see what the National Assembly is going to say about this. And giving speech, by the way, is just one part of what Nigerians are expecting. Coming to address Nigerians is just a fraction of what is being done. I know that Governor Babangida Zulum, at this point, is overwhelmed with what's happening. And the people of Borno State, we had him on the show, I think it was last year. When we interviewed
May
him.
2025.
There was an attack that had occurred. He went and he stayed with them. Contrary to the advice given by his security personnel, he stayed with them for 3 days. You remember, Joe? And part of the conversation was, what that did was it signaled a sense of, I am in this with you. I may not have figured a way out of it, but we are in this together. But Nigerians don't get that sense from our government.
All of you know, at some point, many have thought that maybe the governor of Borno State was at loggerheads with Mr. President. And the reason is because if you're opportune to go on YouTube, you can watch that interview. It's on News Central platform, May 2025. I think, yeah, three of us were live on set that day. And one of the questions I had asked the governor was, does he think that a state of emergency should be called on all northern states? And he kind of like had a drawback and said, sorry, what do you mean by that? And then we further went on to break it down that, listen, His Excellency, based on what is happening to all the northern states, do you think that the president should indeed focus on the northern states like your state and call for a state of emergency? And his response was this. One, he said, state of emergency should not be called only on Borno State. It should be called on all the northern states and all the states that are bedeviled by insecurity. Why? He said because it will stop it from spreading. This was 2025 when Governor Borno State
But Mr. President did call
today
a different type of state of emergency, maybe a vocal state of emergency, because we didn't see any.
That's where I'm going to. So compared to today,
from what happened in
River State.
He said
that in 2025, has insecurity spread? Yes, the Southwest is feeling it. Now, that state of emergency was never called. We've said it here many times, and we keep saying it. But guess what happened later on? What happened was, as soon as Donald Trump had raised eyebrow, the president eventually now said there's a state of emergency on insecurity. How that has happened, how that has healed and stopped the crisis, we do not seen it.
Let's take your reactions on YouTube, and then we head to X to take comments. On YouTube, Mr. Johnson says, good morning, team. We never stop to hear bad news coming out of Nigeria, and yet our government seems not concerned enough. Mr. President will fly to UK today like nothing happened. But remember, he told us he reads newspapers, and that means he's aware. If he continues with that visit, that doesn't add any positive impact to a common Nigerian. Then it tells you all you need to know about our leader. My condolences to our brothers and sisters in Maiduguri. Nigeria failed them. He basically says, on a day where innocent Nigerians have been murdered once again, Mr. President will be enjoying dinner all the way in the UK. May God rescue us. Prince Ajibade says, let's see how many city boys will visit Borno to share rice, since that's the solution to everything in this country. You break leg, they give you rice. You get headache, they give you rice. Alexandra says, whether the president talks or not, at least the governor has spoken. What we need is results. We're tired of coming out to say that they are on top of the game. Michael Obieku says, National Assembly members are busy chanting on your mandate we shall stand because they believe that is their primary duty to Tinubu and not the electorate who unfortunately voted for them. So sad. And final comment for now, Nejinsan says, good morning all, I'm just tired. May God save us all. God bless Nigeria. Let's now head to X and take some comments.
All right, on X, we have the CEO. Now, the CEO says, this is heartbreaking and completely unacceptable. Attacks like this against innocent people are pure evil and must be condemned without hesitation. Nigeria should never return to the days when bombs were going off in markets and public places. The lives lost and the families affected deserve justice, and the country deserves leadership that treats security as an absolute priority. Okay, I like that. We have also shifted towards that statement. Let's take another one. Cody says, Borno State should be fenced from the rest of the country. Don't think the war can be won. Cody,
I think it's only Borno State that is feeling...
I don't know if you think so. Cody, you need to check the news sources like News Central. Always tell you it's not just Borno State. You have other states that are also facing these challenges. Dr. Ben says, what the heck have they turned the northern Nigeria into? Not long ago, people from different parts of the nation traveled to the north to go to school, to serve as coppers, to do businesses and more. What now changed? A lot's changed, Dr. Ben, and history will definitely show you why it changed. Imagine going to visit a sick person just to get bombed at the entrance. You first patient, you died
first, before the patient.
Okay, you died before the patient. Nigerian government, they play monopoly with its citizens, and it puts a very heartbreaking emoji. There's still no statement from the Nigerian government. Well, we've seen what Nigerians are saying. I think we also need to wait on and see what the presidency will definitely do. If the presidency decides to speak to Nigerians today, that will be very, very timely and very good.
So, Bayo Onanuga, the presidential, the senior special
assistant to the president.
It says, release a press statement 12 hours ago. That's 7
That's about,
PM.
that's about, yeah.
And even release this press
Not
statement.
7 p.m.
About President Tinubu's visits to the United Kingdom.
Yes. And then another press release about how President Tinubu congratulates Governor Peter Mbao of Enugu State on his birthday 5 hours ago.
5 hours.
After all the news
7
of
hours,
bombing and attacks
hours.
on Nigerians, he released a statement wishing the Enugu State governor happy birthday. No single tweet or statement
about
the bombings, about the killings of Nigerians in their multitude. It's, I mean, it's heartbreaking. This is the #1 communications man in the presidency.
Anyway, just to confirm that whilst we try to verify the authenticity or otherwise of that tweet by, or that post by Donald Trump, we cannot confirm the truth of it yet, but to mention that we have a lot of work to do and we must learn to prioritize. The responsibility lies on the presidency to display that it understands the plight of Nigerian citizens. But we'll quickly move to our next story, which is closely related to the first. It's some form of insecurity as well. But some would consider this a good news. Security operatives have arrested a suspected bandit known online as Sule Yellow, who gained notoriety on social media for allegedly flaunting kidnapping activities and ransom money during TikTok live streams. The suspect drew widespread attention after appearing in a viral live stream alongside another suspected bandit identified as Ota, where members of the group were seen openly discussing and boasting about their alleged involvement in kidnappings. In a separate video now circulating online, Sule Yellow is seen in handcuffs, questioned about weapons believed to belong to his gang. Meanwhile, the crackdown on kidnapping networks appears to be widening as police in Ondo State also confirmed the arrest of 4 suspected logistics suppliers believed to be aiding kidnappers. We also have authorities saying that the suspects have already made useful confessional statements that are now assisting ongoing investigations. Let's take a look.
Dogowa. Dogo gidan me yake bagu? Dan wannan da tana gidan mu dan wannan. Da da su suke TikTok wait first. Da yana gidan mu yanzu.
All right, that's the young man. We did talk about this young man last week when we were highlighting the story of the core member who had been in captivity for a while. And we said, why is it that we're still struggling with people in captivity when young men like this are displayed? They had asked for 2 bikes.
And this was just recent. This was just yesterday.
Yes, he's live streaming the fact that
there's another one too.
Yes, he's collecting. Look at them. These are young people who are involved in the business, and I will call it a business, the business of terrorism, kidnapping Nigerians, inflicting hardship on the life of Nigerians. They have now seen it as a viable business. Again, the audacity of insecurity for you to not only live stream this, but live stream it with your face open. There was a time when even if you had to make a video, you will cover your face because there was some form of fear. This is a disrespect on our,
and there are people in that community. So I think the community too
knows them.
They know them, and they should share in the blame, because I'm sure they give them hush money and they act like Robin.
Now we know that it's not particular to Nigeria, right? Using social media for psychological warfare is not particular to Nigeria.
I mean, this is
Mexican
just criminal.
cartels use it. But if we bring this back home, the fact that there's our current administration boasts of such huge counterinsurgency efforts, and yet we see young people like this displaying on social media with their faces open, is a level of damning the consequences, because they know that it's almost like they can boast that nothing will happen to them. And it's a really sorry place that we have gotten to. Really sorry. So on the one hand, I want to applaud law enforcement agents for apprehending them, and I want to say kudos, thank you very much for apprehending them. But on the downside, there was such a huge gap between the day the live stream was done and the day he was apprehended. It took about 12 days. There's also the responsibility of social media bodies. Why will TikTok allow insurgents live stream? Why did TikTok not shut them down? By the time we were doing NSAS, they know how to regulate certain social media handles because they don't want you to talk about
because you're celebrating criminality.
How does TikTok allow them to keep? How did they allow them to do that live stream that they did not cut it off? And how did they allow that page still stand? Because there are certain things, if I post a photo on Instagram that shows a certain level of nudity, Instagram will bring it down. So so there's so many layers.
I mean, this has been going on for too long. The Nigerian military authorities, I'm sure they have a cyber warfare unit. Why don't they interface with TikTok, get the metadata and location of these criminals and pinpoint? And also, I mean, trackers, you have trackers, you could put them in the tires of this bikes and then seal it up, pump it, and then use it to track their location in real time. Do reconnaissance activities. I know you wouldn't want to just go in there all guns blazing because of, I mean, civilian casualties. Yeah, but you have special forces. The Navy has special forces. The Navy just launched a marine arm. The Air Force has special forces. The Army has special forces. Small tactical units like the Delta Force go in there, neutralize these killers, and release the kidnapped victims. Because it shows for them to stop wearing masks. It shows they are emboldened, and that the level of confidence is just.
Benga, I think you said it all. I mean,
blowing.
you have a military background, so you said it all. We're expecting more. You wonder why countries are regulating these social media platforms like TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and the likes. And you wonder why they haven't done anything. But I think we must, as we wrap up Wake Up Conversation, because we'll be talking about security, insecurity, we must also give kudos to the Nigerian military. They've stepped up their game.
Yes, yes.
We've seen a lot of impacts. They've been working so hard, and this seems pretty much like victory for them. But one question I would love to ask our security expert when he joins is, why were they so quick to put the video on social media? Wouldn't it seem like a counterproductive situation where
because the others
would see and say, oh, wait, they've caught one of us, therefore that means they're closer, let's change location. But all of these things can also be, counterproductive, at the same time can be argued. But we'll ask all of these questions. Bottom line, we've looked at insecurity this morning. Let's also mention that the Donald Trump tweet cannot be confirmed.
Yeah,
I mean,
we have just double-checked.
So let's take note of that. It's spreading everywhere. It's going everywhere. Everyone is putting it out.
That tweet, I'm like, that language sounds like an angry Nigerian.
Sounds like a Nigerian.
Framed a tweet and put it out there. But Pius Amako on YouTube says, not just TikTok, also X, formerly known as Twitter. We need to be able to talk about platform accountability in the fight against insecurity. Let's now share with you the top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. This morning on Breakfast Central, FAN and police give conflicting reports on Akure Airport arrests. There was an attempted hijacking. We'll be talking about that shortly. Third strike again, disrupt ADC meeting in Cross River State. And we'll be looking at the defection wave leaves PDP bare ahead of 2027 elections. Families protest disappearance and continued silence of missing Neyland engineers. This report we'll be looking into shortly. And we'll also be reviewing the front pages of the papers. Stay with us. Confusion has erupted over reports of a security incident near Akure Airport, where different institutions were giving sharply conflicting accounts of what actually happened. Now, the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria, FAN, initially raised the alarm, stating that 4 suspected bandits were arrested around the airport's perimeter during a security operation. However, the report quickly took another turn after a news aired coverage of the incident using what FAN had described as an AI-generated image depicting a violent gunfight at the airport, a scene the authority insists never occurred. FAN has since criticized the broadcast, accusing the station of spreading misleading information capable of causing public panic, particularly around the critical national infrastructure like an airport. But the situation became even more complicated when the Nigeria Police Force in Ondo State issued its own clarification stating that no bandits were arrested at the airport and there was no security breach at the facility. The question now is, who do we believe and what actually happened? To maybe help us answer and understand what really happened, we are joined by security consultant and expert Onyekachi Adekoya. Good morning and thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning and thank you for having me.
I don't know if you understand what exactly has happened and if you can help us make sense of the conflicting reports and what, from your perspective, you think actually happened.
Well, unfortunately, I've not followed that story. We've been quite occupied by the multiple bomb blasts in Maiduguri. And then at the same time, the simultaneous attack in Damboa, all the flashes of attack in different parts of Maiduguri at this moment. I'm not sure I saw the AI-generated video or the conflict between government and the broadcasters. But I think that the government is perhaps right within the remit of statecraft to calm down the people and to also be ahead of the narrative. So if it did occur, there's a certain way to report such matters and channels to report, and the communication must be measured and such that it doesn't create more panic or chaos. So I don't have any detail to the Akure matter. Sorry, I can't comment on that.
All right, and that's completely okay. But let's get your sense then. Let's now talk about the biggest story in the past 24 hours, which is the multiple bomb blasts and attacks in Borno State. And unfortunately, you know, what this, from your perspective, I think the question should be, the government stands on its effort against insurgency. What does this recent attack tell us about it?
Well, unfortunately, I'm beginning to sound like a broken record and becoming more like a prophet of doom. If you recall the last time I was on set, I told you I've not seen the worst of the insecurity. Yeah. And I'm sure at that time your viewers and yourself would have been thinking, how bad can it get? And let me also reiterate that we've not reached the peak of this crisis yet. The last time I was on set, I think the question was on the impact of the American deployment to Maiduguri and what would have changed. If at all, the matter has gotten worse. And then I did also argue that really Nigeria is in a geopolitical competition with America in the Western Hemisphere here in West Africa, and also a strong pillar in the African Union and African continent. And we don't have any history of particular collaboration between Nigeria and America because our interests basically does not align. It seems quite surprising to me, and maybe it's not coincidental, that there's a sudden sustained uptick. So what we have is an ongoing asymmetrical campaign against the government forces in Maiduguri, because while the person-borne IEDs are being deployed, vehicle-borne IEDs are being deployed, simultaneous attacks are going on in different parts of Maiduguri, even as we speak. In the metropolis of Maiduguri, the residents were hearing artillery fire, which means that the government security forces were on a fire mission and threats were coming very close to the city center. As it were, it would be very likely that there's a high sense of panic within Maiduguri and other local governments. As to how this reflects on the government's fight against insecurity, I've said repeatedly that we are structured very poorly. We are structured to be behind the initiative and the curve. We are structured to react, not to be proactive. Because where you allow one unit, once you centralize power and you centralize the initiative for security, there is no way you will not drop the ball. There is no way you will not lose sight of evolving threats. There's no way. The military today has over 31 operations across 31 states in the country, maybe more than 31 operations, but at least they're operating in 31 states. There is just no way with our limited troop strength of about 200 or 250,000 that we can completely dominate the entire area. There is no way. So there are resource constraints, personnel constraints. Sadly, armed forces are being treated. And I've been warning repeatedly that there's a clear war of attrition against our personnel, against our capabilities, against our resources. So when you spread yourself too thin, your supply and communications line become exposed. They become vulnerable to interdiction. So not only would your supply to your troops be interdicted, it will leave your forward operating bases poorly resourced, poorly equipped, poorly protected, and then this Hydra-headed insurgency can, play around with free rein and cause chaos left, right, center, hit in the front, hit at the rear, and create panic. So what we are seeing is a deep-seated reflection. These symptoms you are seeing is a deep-seated reflection of the fact that our security posture is very poor, and I don't want to be an alarmist. Again, I will say this would not be the last incident, sadly. This would not be the most worst incident. More will occur because as it is, it's a matter of when, not if. And because of the way we are flat-footed, we seem to be waiting for the next political statement. Just wait and see. There'll be a political statement, and then what does that do? I mean, so that's my assessment.
Yeah. Mr. Adekoya, the Nigerians voted the President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, his CNC. He met with the service chiefs a few days ago, and we believe we've given our Commonwealth to him to protect and secure the lives of Nigerians. As we speak, the presidency hasn't issued a statement on this. The last tweet on the special advisor to Mr. President on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bala was 5 hours ago, and it was wishing the Enugu State Governor a happy birthday. The Ministry of Information has not said anything about this. What happens in this sort of situations, or what's the global best practice for crisis communication, and why is it important to own the narrative and tell Nigerians what is really going on?
I mean, you've just answered the question clearly. You have to own the narrative, because if you allow, in a crisis, people to begin to make up different conjectures, it can result in a panic. I don't blame the government if they are not able to. I had warned this administration. Again, let me be very clear. It's not a problem of a single administration. We've had retired General Olusegun Obasanjo couldn't deal completely with the issue of insecurity. As a matter of fact, during his tenure, that's when the real problem that we have today started. That's when Sharia was imposed in some parts of the country. It was just about then that the Boko Haram insurgency was achieving a footing. It was during that time that political violence was at its peak, and gangsterism of security forces was rife. We've had a retired military general, Mohammed Buhari, also be in power. Let me save myself some saliva. Clearly, we did achieve some progress in some of the parts of the country. However, I kept saying, we must go state police. When this administration came to office, the first interview I granted on TVC, I said clearly to Mr. President, you will fail where others fail. If you keep thinking that your primary responsibility is internal security. The president's role as commander-in-chief is to ensure the territorial integrity of Nigeria, the unity of the state, and to protect our borders, and to provide a cohesive framework for dealing with security, and to provide policy. But you see, the military establishment, despite the fact that we're in a democracy, has refused to submit themselves to civil rule. The office of the ONSA, for example, is one of the critical challenges to why insecurity is failing. ONSA cannot be having command. ONSA is clearly an advisory role. The constitutive powers of the Office of the National Security Advisor places the National Security Advisor as an aide, not a cabinet member, to Mr. President. He can't even be commanding the Chief of Army Staff or the Chief of Defense Staff, or even his role is to coordinate the intelligence agencies strictly, to provide the President with advice, nuanced measured advice, to provide policy framework, and create a program for the country, not for ONSA to be having command. So when the body that's supposed to be advising the President on policy and the rest is having command, when that command structure fails, of course, there will be excuses. But when you are an independent, neutral player, observing and coordinating and providing information, you can provide nuanced advice to the President. So ONSA has command, the armed forces has command. Things are failing. I saw the other day the Minister of Defense, General Musa, summoned the chiefs to the Ministry of Defense for a meeting. And my question is, what is he going to charge them with? And what is he going to charge them to? What are the resources he's going to give to them? There's no troop surge. There's no equipment surge. The military is doing more than it should be doing. In fact, we have over-domesticated our military. That's why we do not have the capability to go into Niger, if we have to, or go into Chad and deal with the roots of threats where it occurs, as it imposes a threat to our own sovereignty. we are so docile. I mean, look at Israel. Having to, I mean, I don't particular fancy the idea, but you've seen the doctrine today at play in the world that might is right. How dare threats come into Nigeria from our neighboring countries, and we're sat here, doing nothing? It is because the military is expected to fight as a military and also fight as a police. So how much can the military do? So the problem is a problem of structure. When the president and some people came out and said, oh, we must do state police, we're tired of the sing-song of state police. Push an executive bill, put your political capital into it, because if we don't have state police, we won't have a force multiplier to the military. We will not be able to extricate them from the current, because what it simply means is that in asymmetrical warfare, you pin down the larger forces and capabilities of your enemy while you continue to ravage them at the rear. So we have forces that are pinned down in static deployment because there's crisis here, there's crisis there, there's crisis everywhere. And we have resources completely pinned down around. We cannot create a spearhead to go in, conduct a surgical operation, wipe out these people and go. So it's a chicken on egg situation. There's no way out of this if we continue in our current trajectory. In any case, they say if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, you are likely not feeling fine. So we are sick as a nation, and what we're seeing is just the expression of that sickness that we carry inside, particularly with security.
Okay, so pretty much we're faced with a whole lot, but all of these seems to look like it's a coordinated attack. The issue that happened at Fan in Akure, then not too long ago, we saw Maiduguri, 3 places in particular. And then also, we did see the army put out a video of one of the bandits that was recently caught. I mean, the question everyone is asking is, was it right for them to have done that from a security standpoint? Or could they have just waited, maybe use him as a decoy, or better still, get more information as an informant on where the others are so he can lead them to where they are, and then they can decide to carry out their own onslaught, as it were. What do you make of that? Showcasing a bandit that has been caught, that's one. And I'd like you to also touch on the fact that these attacks that happened yesterday seem to have been coordinated.
Well, I'll start with the showcasing of a suspect that has been arrested. The Nigerian army and Nigerian military are not the police. Their codes of engagement and rules of engagement differ from that of the police. You expect the police to ensure some OPSEC and do some of the things they need to do. But where the waves and waves of depressive attacks are coming on, at least the people fighting this the best way they can, you may excuse them if they have to show that at least they are making some progress and having some win, even if it boosts the psychology and the morale of the men who are fighting. So, I mean, I'll grant the Nigerian army an excuse any day, anytime, any day, anytime. Like I said, you can't be military and police at the same time. So this is completely excusable. This is reflective of our own bad sense of who should be doing what. In a democracy, civil rule. Civil rule means that all armed forces and powers are subjected to civilian leadership, and then we lead from a policy-first perspective. So that's that. As to whether we are under an asymmetrical attack, I mean, I've said that much because in Maiduguri, we've seen the death of a lieutenant colonel, major, brigadier general. I mean, we can't go on and on. The Nigerian army is paying the ultimate sacrifice. If you know what it takes the Nigerian army to train an officer to the level of brigadier general, and the rotation and consideration that takes place in making somebody in that position, even it up to a major general, you will know that every loss of an officer, as the loss of every human life, is significant and damaging to our force structure and our force posture. So, I mean, it's not laughable or excusable, the attrition that is happening to our forces. As to the asymmetric nature of the warfare, it's clear. North Central is awash with incursions. The Northeast, surprisingly, has sustained this uptick And I was warning when certain elements started the campaign towards 2027 early along the axis of the Northwest. It was clear to me that insecurity will be used as a significant leverage against the current administration to the disadvantage of Nigerians. What do we care if political actors are squabbling? So, I mean, if you look at the political landscape where APC has secured almost 30-something governors and destabilized PDP just on the political speak and puts the Labour Party in a coma, and the ADC is almost slipping back into a crisis. If you are going to take a toll on the government, perhaps you have to look at the way of pinching soft spots and damaging narratives of the government to give it a black eye. So it is not beyond the remit that you have certain black market actors and black market operators, acting to foster this asymmetry. We've seen in Nigeria where people behead people, and they caught a lady once who said she was paid 10,000 naira per human head.
Yes.
So you can imagine a politician who has billions of nairas, the amount of chaos he can create. Now, whether that is that or not, I do not care, because we have people in office who have been appointed and so resourced to deal with these issues. They should deal with it decisively, and that's where I would like to leave this at. But clearly, it's becoming evident that there's an alignment between internal and external forces, degrading our capability, our posture, damaging the current narrative of the current administration. All in all, if we go by the records, it's still early season. Sadly, this would continue to rise.
Okay, I want us to also talk about Sule Yellow. He's a young man who was found on the 4th of March making a live stream on TikTok with his fellow bandits and was apprehended on the 16th of March, which is approximately 12 days apart. While on the one hand, we applaud our security agencies for apprehending him, there's also the concern of why it took 12 days, why he even had the ability to live stream in the first place, why the live stream was not interrupted by TikTok, and why it was left there for 12 days. So the question is, can you speak to us about what our real-time digital intelligence capabilities are? Because every time we're hearing, come and do your NIN, come and do this, that all these registrations help the fight against insecurity, help them to be able to track you in real time. So what's the reality of Nigeria's real-time digital intelligence capability?
Some things we cannot discuss and should not be discussing on TV, Olive, except you want to get me into trouble. On the issue of the suspect that has now been arrested live streaming, there's nothing Meta can do in real time except employ and embed AI to read narratives, and flag. But again, the platforms will argue that they've created community nodes, they've created opportunities to report, and where the public do not report or escalate, then there's nothing they can do. But there's a lot that the federal government can do. They can call the platform holders in Nigeria and, create a regulation. Because this big tech platform take compliance risk very seriously. So where there is no law, there is no offense. And I think we have some laws on, so it's just to tweak it and operationalize it for the digital environment, and then have a session with them and engage them, that we will hold you responsible for any such account being published. And then the platform owners can go back to the algorithms and then put measures in place to deny such videos. So Nigeria needs to achieve a bit of a handshake. In terms of 12 days, I commend the law enforcement for doing this under 12 days. It's no mean feat, because there's a lot that goes into qualifying, assessing, and then approaching, gathering intelligence, and then being sure. Sometimes you have to stake out a place, and then approaching, you also now, because of the new laws, you need to file reports here and there, all of that while operating, or within reasonable restriction, ensuring that your information doesn't go out there. You get your approvals, and then you make your deployments. If you're fortunate, on day one, you make your arrests. If you have to stake out a longer time, sometimes it takes 14 days. We've seen investigations that take 1 year to wrap up, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So the law enforcement doing this in 12 days is no mean feat at all. It's no mean feat at all. I must commend them. They have done a good job. We've been in support of the pursuit of some suspects. Sometimes it takes 1 year, really, truly. If that's what it takes, that's what it takes, because some of these people are moving. You narrow them to a point, they move. You narrow them to the next point, you move. You know, so it's a bit of a cat and mouse sometimes when you're trying to approach a moving target.
Mr. Adekoya, your prognosis for Nigeria's security as it speaks as it stands, looks like a doomsday prediction. But the government would argue that, you know, they're making moves here and there. For example, the recruitment into the Nigerian army used to be only in Depot, in Zaria. Now you have branches in Oshogbo and Ebonyi State. The commander-in-chief has also, the president has also asked for an upward review of the salary of armed forces personnel. That seems to be a good move. And also, I want to talk to you about this Falcon Eye that we have, this state-of-the-art maritime surveillance system operated by the Nigerian Navy to monitor the country's extensive coastline and exclusive economic zone. State-of-the-art is fantastic. It looks like something out of a movie, Hollywood movie. But why don't we are there similar platforms that are available to the Air Force or the Nigerian Army that we could use to, you know, stop this insurgency in the Northeast? And are there low-hanging fruits and quick wins that we can achieve in the interim?
Okay, you're asking a very, very important question. And then because really in the domain of warfare, and part of the problem we've been seeing is that even the insurgents themselves are now using drones. And we now have reports that they are not only just using drones, but they are now using armed drones with mortar. Because of the democratization of the use of a manned vehicle and then raging conflicts all over, people are now exporting capabilities. What you're trying to speak about is what we call ISR saturation. But you know that Nigeria has over 923,000 above that square kilometers of landmass. Persistent, consistent ISR is not a mean task. It's possible. If the Air Force wants advice, we're here available. If the Nigerian military wants advice, we're here. Nigeria is our country, will provide that advice. But it requires some level of significant investment, and then you need to layer. You need to layer what it is you are doing. There has to be a lot of training, even at battalion tactical level. They also have to have their own ISR capability. Not just ISR, ISR is intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance. They also need to have reconnaissance attack capability, because that's where the future has moved to now. You don't just surveil in real time or near real time. You also need the capability to strike targets opportunities as they present themselves and use that to degrade the enemy's capability. Sometimes you go for decapitation strike. So there has to be a proper handshake. You know, the doctrine of warfare morphed to where you talk about combined arms warfare. But, you know, it's now morphing further to where you are even using surveillance asset to direct artillery fire in real time. So there's a significant investment. Nigeria started to tilt towards the need for having army aviation, which former, it's not late, so forgive me, former Lieutenant General Boratai set up the Army Aviation Center because the issue of close air support. I beg your pardon?
Yes, I think it's been established, the Army Aviation Corps.
Yes. So they started that because they were trying to close the gap between the Army needing close air support and not having it, so they wanted to have an Army Aviation under there. But some of these things require a lot of investment. And the problem with our procurement policy is that we don't know how to procure. We're not familiar with the technology, and sometimes the people who are procuring on our behalf are insincere. Some of the money spent over the last 15 years should have solved the bulk of our problem. But it's just this Nigerian sentiment. You can imagine the Dasukis of this world and what followed the procurement mess, and which is still continuing. So it's not as much a resource problem as it is a procurement problem, because you can procure lean and you can procure smart. If ISR saturation is your problem, there are cheap, cheerful drones that can give you that operational visibility of your theater of operation. Okay? If reconnaissance attack is what you need and you don't have the budget, you can have limited availability. You can saturate with smaller, capable drones that gives you visibility and then strike when you have the opportunity. If intelligence is your priority, there's a capability for that, but how you go about qualifying the intelligence and taking action on intelligence you have gathered now speaks to training, doctrine, and it speaks to your resourcing and how you have shaped. Okay, but because our military doctrine says we must hold territory, we don't have a flexible or elastic defense structure. We want to hold territory just to say that, you know, we don't have Boko Haram holding any local government. Sometimes you have to leave the territory alone and work on degrading the forces, the fighting forces that are fighting against you. Maybe we need to call a state of emergency in some of these local governments and evacuate civilian population from there, so that anything that moves, breathes, forgive my language, or shits within that area, we fire immediately. You know, so our biggest problem sometimes are political. You know, we like political correctness. If you look at the Russia-Ukraine war, when holding territory is untenable, you fall back to a defensible position, allow the enemy fall into a trap, and then you treat them. And then you degrade them, because as long as the enemy remains a fighting force, it continues to pose a threat to you. So holding territory should not be the priority. So again, it's different doctrine and philosophy and sometimes political consideration that causes us to fall into these experiments.
You're speaking about the political angle. We're counting down to elections. By January 2027, we'll be heading to the polls. Are you concerned about maybe the evolution of their strategy? That's the bandits and the terrorists I'm speaking about, because we often see that insecurity is weaponized during elections. So are you worried that, you know, this would accelerate as we count down to 2027? And often we hear we're on top of it, we're on top of it. Administration in, administration out. What will practically being on top of it look like? What change in approach will that bring?
So first, on the issue of approaching elections, if the current conditions continue to worsen, what will happen is that during the elections, you have voter apathy. And most Nigerians will just stay away from the polls. And that's one scenario, and that's not bad at all for the politicians. What will we on top of it look like? It will look like state police implemented within the next 6 months. That would be a miracle, though, if it can happen. It will look like the sub-national governments, because currently we can make laws, we can adjudicate laws, but the governors cannot enforce laws, even though I don't agree with them that they are without resource, because they are the chairman of the State Security Council, and there is no person in uniform that will not obey lawful order or a lawful initiative to ensure security once they are resourced and deployed. So that small gap that we have in accountability, because accountability and responsibility for security is very important. We need to take chain of command and chain of accountability to where it becomes imperative, where insecurity at the subnational level becomes a campaign issue, where a governor will lose elections based on performance of insecurity or security. Because you see, when infrastructure became an issue, yeah, there's still corruption and misappropriation. But then governors are now being, you know, measured against infrastructure development of the previous administration. So once insecurity becomes a measure of political campaign, then you see a change in narrative.
Finally, Mr. Adekoya, we missed out this big one, almost the elephant in the room. If you can, in less than a minute, please. We've seen an uptick in violent extremist attacks since the arrival of American soldiers on the ground, albeit in an advisory capacity. Is there any linkage between that, any correlation between the spike in attacks and American boots on the ground? Because insecurity seems to have American boots on the ground.
I should ask Yeah, I should ask you, because you are the one making the presupposition. You are making a correlation between the arrival and an optic. So is there any link?
Since the Christmas Day bombings, you're the expert. That's why we're asking you.
No, we are all Nigerians. You can put 2 and 3 together. It's like they say in Yoruba, you say, what's the connection? So it's just for us to see out there. The Christmas Day bombing, I maintain, bombed nothing but an onion field, killed nobody. Till tomorrow, there's no battle damage assessment report.
Expensive pyrotechnics.
When I was asking for the battle damage assessment report, yeah, just expensive pyrotechnics, that's all. You can see the battle damage assessment reports being shown in near real time in Iran, in Venezuela, in the Gulf of Mexico and the rest. But I mean, we flew how many Tomahawk knockouts into Nigeria. We claim they were obliterated. Well, if they've been obliterated, then they shouldn't be killing people or disturbing. Even Kaduna is becoming increasingly unsafe. So, I mean, if they damage anything, they should show us the report. But as far as the information available goes, they hit nothing, and they've changed nothing on the ground. All the puff and noise means nothing on the ground as of today. I stand to be corrected.
I mean, for those who wonder what he said in Yoruba, it means that the witch died in the night, or the witch cried in the night and the baby died in the morning. Mr. Adekoya, thank you for joining us this morning. A very sad conversation, but you often always say that you know you'll be back again to discuss it. I think that's the most heartbreaking part of all of this. It's the most heartbreaking part.
I don't want to be back again, sadly, but...
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Well, let's move on now, and let's tell our audience that a KA2 service train departed at the right time yesterday at 7:15 a.m. from Rigasa Station. Now let's tell you that the train arrived Jere 1 minute ahead of schedule at 8:52 a.m. and departed Jere at 8:59, which was 6 minutes behind scheduled departure due to coupling of,
locomotive
2809 to the rake to create more resilience. Well, at about 9:16 a.m. on approach to Asham Station at kilometer 50 to 51, a loud bang was heard as a power car and trailing locomotive collided with one of the coaches. What you see there on the screen is the impact of what had happened yesterday when trains collided, and this was along the Kaduna-Abuja train station, along that track. But there was an eyewitness who also captured this entire information. Let's just bring it to you on the screen.
Great impact, people injured. Even those of us who are in coach 20 injured. And now look at this. This is really bad. So there obviously was an impact. And it caused this great damage. I hope people are fine here. Where people sitting here, hope they are fine. If you need like this thing that they used to clean, if it can help. Kai, Jesus Christ. Sorry. I think it's that impact from that one. Yes, it's the impact. It's the impact. Look at now. Look at. I don't think we can live here. Okay. Okay. Oh my goodness. That means it's the impact. So apparently, what happened is that this that was attached suddenly detached and then crashed this one. It just crashed it.
Well, we are glad to mention that so far so good. There has been no report of any lives lost in that impact. And we do have our reporter who definitely will be combing that area and should be able to give us an in-swinger in the course of our broadcast. But then again, this also calls for quick response, and we do share that the response time was not too bad. Well, let's bring to you what's coming up next here on Breakfast Central for the second hour as we move. Second hour of Breakfast Central. What's coming up next? We'll take a look at thugs as it disrupt ADC meeting in Cross River. Not the first, not the second, but definitely much more like the fifth. PDP grapples with mass exit. One more governor to go. Is he going to bow or leave? New finance minister sworn in, and he says tax reform must begin. Stay with us. Breakfast Central continues.
Over the weekend, suspected political thugs stormed the African Democratic Congress ADC Secretariat opening in Bakassi, Cross River State. Reports say canopies, loudspeakers, and chairs were destroyed. Supporters dispersed and videos circulated online showing youths shouting that ADC will not be allowed to operate in the area. The police confirmed the incident and described the perpetrators as hoodlums. Joining us to talk about this and react to the development is a former minister of the Niger Delta under the Buhari administration, who's also the National Vice Chairman, South-South of the African Democratic Congress ADC, Pastor Usani Uguru Usani. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
My pleasure, thank you.
All right, before we get into the conversation proper, we want to share with our audience a video of the attack, the conversation that forms the conversation or the premise of the conversation today.
We don't need any party here apart from APC in Bakassi. We don't want anybody. Come on, scatter everywhere. Scatter everywhere. Go punish you now there. Now the grace for this local government. For Bakassi here. We don't want come on. Scatter everywhere. Come on there. Come on. Everywhere must shut down. We don't want any party here. That APC. Party. Go and call now chocolate chamber to call our this thing. We don't want APC anywhere. Shut down. Call them, I tell them. Scatter everywhere. Come on, scatter everywhere. This Bakassi, when we dey shot, you see you. Come on, lie down. Come on. The crate, stop. The crate is in that place. The crate. You know, fire on it. Oh, see, we'll scatter all of it. That is Chris.
Well, that's the very uncomfortable video that has been played regarding the attacks against the ADC. Let's now bring in our guest, sir. This attack against the ADC, reports have it that the one in Bakassi is not the first attack, that there was one in Calabar as well on the 10th of March. Can you confirm to us the truth of these reports, and if you can walk us through what exactly the ADC has experienced in Cross River State?
Oh, thank you very much. Before you even talk of the one in Calabar, there was another at Ogoja. At Ogoja, indeed, there was an intending member who wanted to leave the APC into the ADC, and there was a defection rally planned. In that one, it was the police area commander at Ogoja who personally came to the hotel where we were lodging, and he mobilized a garrison of policemen as if they were going to fight a battle at Sambisa Forest. And they said he was directed by the commissioner to ensure that we didn't hold the event because APC was holding their primaries on the same day. And when they came up in defense after the issue escalated, they explained it away and said it was the same venue. And later on they said, oh, because the ADC members were blocking the road at a certain junction. All lies. And at Ogoja, they arrested several of our guys and put them in detention, although released after a while and requested to come back. So these sporadic incidents at different locations of the state suggest something that is yet uncovered. So at the Calabar event, yes, we had planned, we had taken a venue, an indoor activity to inaugurate the local government chapters of our membership mobilization, revalidation, and registration committees. And a barricade of policemen came over there that they got information it was going to be chaotic. And of course, we expect that when you hear the thing, and the presence of the police is actually welcome, then it should be their prerogative to protect those who are holding the event and make sure that there is no violence, rather than prevent us from holding it. So what is their duty? So it is, of course, you heard from the Bakassi video. Voice is saying we don't want any other party here except APC. Well, in summary, that is the modern day democracy, if you call it democracy.
Okay, so
I'm confirming the incidents as...
Yeah, Bakassi.
Okay, so you have Kaduna. We have the footage there. We'll also put that on the screen there, where they wanted to have a meeting, and all of a sudden they had this similar attack, and they had to abandon ship and run for their own safety. We had showed the footage earlier on. We'll also try to put that footage back on the screen there. There you have it. These are members of the ADC being chased out unceremoniously, especially by bandits and so on. We do not know who these people are, but later on we'll find out that they were members of another party, not the bandits, but members of other party. Predominantly, fingers were pointing to the incumbent. We also have that of Ogoja that you've mentioned. We have Benin, if you recall, a former gubernatorial aspirant in Edo State, Mr. Pata, while he was trying to move to the ADC, he also faced that. Then we have Lagos. And why is it that the ADC is always attacked? I think that's the biggest question. Why is the ADC always attacked? And are you in any way worried that the current administration led by President Bola Mohammed Tinubu and, of course, members of the presidency have not spoken out against how this is a threat to democracy?
Probably you have also forgotten that just last week, Port Harcourt was right on the radar.
Port Harcourt, yes.
And many more that are remote and have not come up publicly on the media. Well, to ask if I'm worried, yes, anybody would be worried. But I think beyond the active politicians, the general public should be more worried. Should be more worried because the situation suggests that the entire country is not safe. If high-caliber personalities in Nigeria are made so vulnerable to these attacks, and the institutions of government are quiet, and where pronouncements are coming publicly, where such security institutions are in themselves commanding and directing that these things will not be, what do you think the future of the common Nigerian citizen is? So it's quite an unfortunate thing. It's beyond worry. It is just to know that we are in a Gestapo situation where nobody feels safe. Beyond feeling safe, where nobody is actually safe. So we will begin to understand the rhetorics or narratives of certain persons who accuse some personalities in and out of government playing agency roles for these types of activities, which actually threaten the entire fabric of Nigerian society, whether in politics or in business. Any human being needs to be allowed to practice anything. Yeah, you see, the images you're spawning out show clearly what it is. And by yesterday, we had a narrative of a certain governor saying he doesn't want any billboard of ADC anywhere, and if he says it, they will bring it down. And such a person is said to be an elected governor, truly elected or selected. So it's an unfortunate situation, but I charge the public to take decisions and act accordingly, consistent with the attitude of people who are tired of a system that is just so abrasive of everything that is honorable. So while we are worried, the question would be, what shall we do? I don't want the public to keep blaming opposition politicians, opposition parties, and so on. These politicians are so, most of the time, seamless that they can cross boundaries and join other political parties. So they really lose little or nothing. Because once there is victory on one side, you find them all flocking away. Only few stick by conscience. And so it is left to the Nigerian public, as it were, when we hear that city boys went to a certain city, and the village boys also responded to the city boys. I think it's important for people to begin to act and take over rights in their own domains and say that what operates, what obtains is actually of their own endorsement and not by imposition.
Now, Pastor Seni, let's talk about what the future holds. I mean, if we've seen this multiple attacks occur in different parts of the country, it's just going to be, without outright condemnation and law enforcement doing anything about it, it would embolden those perpetrators to take it a step further when it comes to campaigns and also electioneering proper. What's your strategy for preventing this sort of situation from playing out? Because they can disrupt you from just holding meetings. Imagine what they will do when campaigns start, and what will it take to stop this culture of madness?
All right, before you respond to that answer, we'll go on a very quick break, and when we come back, we'll take your response. Welcome back to Breakfast Central. We're still looking at the attacks against the ADC in multiple states across the country, but now particularly focused on Cross River State and the recent attacks in Bakassi. And our guest is still here with us. Sir, before we went on the break, my colleague had asked you a question. Please go ahead.
Yes, I wanted to know what the plans are, because if this is happening at this stage, I mean, the campaigns have not even officially started, but the ADC in different parts of the country are not even allowed to sit together and have meetings. They're always, most times, disrupted by thugs suspected to be working for the ruling APC. So what's your strategy going forward, knowing that when campaigns start, it will be more heated and emotional, let alone elections? What's your strategy to prevent these attacks on members of your party?
The first thing to appreciate is to interrogate the motives behind these attacks. And it is to create panic and fear in the minds of the electorate so that they don't even come out to vote or attend any campaign organizations. With this, it means it is a dare on the Nigerian public. Now, our strategy has been to mobilize the Nigerian electorate to come out and vote, because we are expected to obey and keep to the tenets of democracy. And that we are trying to do, and we are doing. So again, let us understand, whatever strategy we deploy, without the response of the electorate, it will amount to nothing. But let's be also mindful that no matter the strength anybody exhibits, whether because you have the instrumentality of authority or power to do what you're doing in a brazen manner, a time comes when somebody decides that you have to be alive to be able to enjoy or take part in any process. Therefore, it will be an existentialist threat which will demand a survival approach. We should recall that there's a limit to what anybody can do, positive or negative. When answers came, I do not think anybody suggested or thought it would be so devastating. So when we push the people to a point where self-help will become the only alternative, then you will be sure that we have lost the country. So those who are exercising this should also know that there is a counterproductive measure which should not be allowed to take place. So because when that happens, I'm not sure how many people will be saved, especially for those who think that they hold the essence of violence and state authority. Non-state actors can be more violent because they are not trained. Non-state actors can be more decisive because they have no pattern. Non-state actors can be more devastating because you cannot define them and because the actions are spontaneous. So we should not drive our common citizenry into the point where they will decide to deploy methods of self-help. I hope that satisfies our curiosity.
Okay, that really does. Unfortunately, we're out of time for this conversation, but just one final question. What is the ADC planning to do? Looking at the list of attacks, since it's becoming numerous, we have a new IGP on the helms of affairs. Are you planning, is the ADC planning to meet with him, write to him, inform him of the incessant attacks, and to plot a new way forward?
Well, as you know, they talk of territorial jurisdictions when you talk of things that are lawful or unlawful. Each of these attacks is actually reported to to the security arms that obtain in the domains of their occurrence. And so we expect, being breaches of security, they see it on media, they also get our formal reports. We expect that they are escalated to the highest authorities. If the people who are in positions to react to them in lawful forms fail to do so, then the ADC will have to determine what next step actions to take. But for now, what the ADC is doing is to keep mobilizing the people for the rescue mission that they are set out for, and also to make complaints as consistent with lawful approaches in attending such matters. And then eventually, we wait for the reactions, but they are becoming so incessantly fast, regular, that we are not hearing any action of the government that should protect the people. So I think the fact that the media is also intervening is a positive step to educate Nigerians on what is happening. And we hope we don't get to that decimal point of having Nigerians to react in their own ways of self-survival.
All right.
Thank you.
We'll continue to hold the government to account because opposition should and must thrive. It's a necessary part for ensuring that we uphold the democracy that we are claiming to have in our country. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Thank you, and God bless you.
All right. We'll take a very quick break. When we come back, we'll still be looking at politics this morning on Breakfast Central, so please stay with us. The erosion that has swept through the People's Democratic Party, PDP, since 2023 may be reaching a tipping point, as reports suggest that Bala Mohammed, the governor of Bauchi State, may be defecting to the All Progressives Congress by the end of the Ramadan fast. Some reports even indicate that his defection could happen today. With 12 governors at the start of Bala Mohammed Tinubu's administration in 2023, the PDP has since lost a lot more, with potentially only one prominent governor remaining, that is Sheyi Makinde, if Bala Mohammed follows through on these defection reports. According to Ini Ememobong, the All Progressives Congress has engineered defections from the PDP through inducement and pressure. He insists that this strategy will neither weaken the opposition nor translate into public support. Can the PDP succeed in the 2027 elections in its current state? We're joined this morning by PDP Chieftain Olatokunbo Pierce. Thank you very much for joining us, sir.
Good to be here.
It's good to have you again.
Thanks for joining us, Dr. Pierce. Yeah.
There seems to be such an upbeat spirit by the core members of the PDP, which the rest of the country does not seem to hold, because if APC can boast of 31 out of 36, what really is the actual future for the PDP in the next elections?
Anybody who understands how political parties work will understand that the defection of the governors does not reflect the victory of the presidential candidate in those states. Let me give you a practical statistical example. In the 2023 election, APC, Bala Mohammed Tinubu, had 22 states governors. Bala Mohammed Tinubu lost in 10 of those states. He won 12 of them. Our own candidate, Atiku, we had 12 governors. Atiku won only 5 of them. He lost in 7 of them. The most dramatic example is Peter Obi, who had no governors at all and won in 12 states. So, you know, this whole thing is just optics. It's drama. It gives the impression, no, we're not happy that governors are leaving, but governors don't make the party. That's one example. The second one is, you know, and this is good. I'm glad we had this opportunity, so our members will be encouraged to understand that this is not about governors. Second example is, you know, we are going to an election year. All those governors that have defected had to go through primary election to be re-elected. So if they decide to go now, it's okay. They will go at one point anyway, or they will stay. So those ones have gone. We are going to have elections, and other candidates are lining up to take their place. So there is no vacuum. The governors, some of them have legitimate reasons to leave. I'll give you an example of what is happening with Bala Mohammed. It is a great example of the corruption, the corrosion, the lack of integrity in the ruling party. Why is Bala Mohammed going to APC? He's going to APC because he's under serious coercion. A few months ago, his finance commissioner was arrested, still in detention. He was accused of embezzling something close to 5 billion naira and also funding terrorism, serious charges. Yeah. And that finance minister threatened to expose Bala Mohammed. He said,
finance commissioner.
So if Bala Mohammed, if indeed is guilty of embezzling state funds in the billions and also funding terrorism, a crime punishable almost by death, now he's going to your APC and you are welcoming him and giving him condition. What does that tell you about the APC? A corrupt system that has corroded the whole political
Dr.
system
Pierce,
in
what
Nigeria.
you're trying to insinuate is that once he joins the APC, the investigations will discontinue. And
well,
it won't be prosecuted.
But this has been the policy of the APC. When Ganduje was national chairman, before him, Oshomole, when Oshomole was national chairman, he made it very popular. Come to APC and all your sins are forgiven. Ganduje took over as national chairman, continued with the policy. They capture, the word they use, we capture every state we go to. They had the election in Edo, cycle election in Edo State. The results from the polling units clearly showed that the PDP governor, the PDP candidate was well ahead. By the time he got to coalition center, INEC changed everything and handed it over to the governor of Edo State today. Who knows that he never won the election? But this is the way this thing has gone throughout. But guess what is going on in Nigeria? We are going to have an election between the APC and the whole of Nigeria. It's not going to be PDP or ADC because they're trying everything now. ADC is in trouble. They can't have meetings. They're trying to deregister ADC. PDP is in trouble. We are waiting for the Supreme Court judgment. Hopefully we will be cleared. And they've done everything, reduced our governors to the point that we only have one governor left by the grace of God. But I've always said, it is not the governors that make the party, as I've explained, but we are ready. The people are ready. Our party members are so energized by everything that happens. So gives us more strength.
You mentioned something quite instructive now, that you're going to the Supreme Court. Is that confirmed that the Turaki-led group would challenge the ruling of the Court of Appeal and go to the Supreme Court? What about alternative ways of settling this dispute? Could there be dialogue with the Wike group and find a way to amicably deal with this crisis in your party?
Look, the attempt by INEC to pressure the National Working Committee of the PDP led by Dr. Turaki to negotiate with Wike and his group is such a terrible fallacy. Because Yeson Wike and his group have been expelled from the party. That's number one. The judgment that came out last week confirmed that these suspensions are valid. Also, that the Magun-led PDP at the time was authentic. And therefore, anything that he decided to do, which included organizing the national convention, is valid. So all we are waiting for now is they're using legal gimmicks to keep us united. That's all. But in reality, the PDP is alive and well and strong and ready. The the effort to destabilize the PDP, the reason for it is very clear. If you have a position in 2027 against Bala Mohammed Tinubu has lost the election. He's so scared of having any opposition. He wants to be the only one that will contest for president.
But he says he's a Democrat.
Pardon?
He says he's a Democrat.
Well, he says he can say anything. Did you see Buala, his spokesperson, also having an interview? I was waiting for the man to say his name is not Buala. I was waiting for them to ask him, are you Daniel Buala? And he said, no. He lied about everything. President Tinubu himself is an established, confirmed liar. Everything about him is false.
But that's a strong statement, you know.
It is a strong statement. I stand by it.
That's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
It's on record, Federal Republic. So anybody can be president. This is a democracy. I can speak my mind. And he can challenge it if he wants.
Okay.
We don't know his date of birth. We don't know the school he attended. We don't know where he comes from. Everything about him is questionable. And that is the same thing that you're having in his administration. Well, birds of the same feather flock together.
Well, that's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Unfortunately, we cannot...
He's your president, he's not my president.
We can't fact... Well, anyway, let's look at the matters facing the PDP as we speak now. Only one governor left. And a while back, he had visited the president in the Aso Rock. They had a meeting. It seems like he may likely also move to the APC. So there are two options facing the APC. The PDP now, the Wike faction has called for a dialogue, says, come, let's talk, while maintaining his stance that there would be no presidential aspirant from the PDP come 2027, starting from April, June, during the primaries. And he's saying, then let's meet and let's talk. So what options are you going with?
Is that an option?
He's giving you an option. He's saying dialogue. However, there will be no presidential aspirant for that year.
That shows you that this is a person without honor, a very dishonorable human being. How can you say, let's have dialogue, and you say, we must not field a presidential candidate? If we don't field a presidential candidate, we have contributed to the destruction of multi-party democracy in Nigeria, and we will not stand for that. We will fight them to the end. And I'm telling you, when this thing gets to the Supreme Court, I think we are going to be vindicated.
Are you sure about the Supreme Court's victory? I mean, the appeal court,
Listen, I am praying that we don't descend to the level where the Supreme Court will join with the administration to destroy democracy in Nigeria, to destroy the opportunity for people, Nigerian citizens, to vote their conscience, to have an option to vote, so that we don't have a dictatorship. Look, this thing is not a problem for members of the PDP or the PDP as a political party. This is a problem for the whole country. You know what has been going on in Nigeria in elections? The off-cycle election in Edo, you had about 24% voter turnout. A few months after that in Ondo, you had about 25% turnout. The 2023 election, general election, 90 people registered to vote. Less than 28 million people voted. What does that tell you? And what happened in FCT a couple of weeks ago? Yeah. I think it was about 15% turnout. Yeah. What does that tell you? Nigerians are fed up. And why are they fed up? Look at what the ADC gentleman was saying. You want to go and campaign. You want to have meeting. They send people to disrupt the meeting. You have no option. You have nowhere to go. You go to the police is working for the president. You go to the army, everything is under control. Oh, come on. This is not going to end up well for this presidency. It's not going to, it cannot end like this. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And guess what? What's going on now, is threatening the unity, the stability of this country.
Okay.
This is exactly the things that happened before 1966 and the country collapsed. That is what we are looking at now. So we better be careful. For posterity, the president should watch himself.
So, and I hear when you say that it's not necessarily the governors that determine the strength of the People's Democratic Party. If Bala Mohammed moves, that leaves just one governor in the PDP. But then if all the governors then move, and it's just one, what is the strength of the People's Democratic Party? Jason Wike is saying that the party should not field the candidate.
Why? Wait. Why?
Maybe because the party, it's obvious that the party has not yet put its house in order. And it's not the responsibility of the president to put the PDP in order.
And he's saying he's giving his support to the APC.
So, look. All that is just subterfuge. It's a joke. If we have no governors, by the time we go to our presidential primaries, whoever stands up to run, they don't have to be a governor. Whoever wins the primaries of the PDP and nominated to represent the PDP in 2027 election for president is going to be the next president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, because Nigerians will have an option to vote for somebody other than this administration that has destroyed the economy.
And who would that person be?
Whoever it is.
When
you understand
I know that in our last conversation,
you had talked about to be a governor.
You had talked about throwing your weight behind Sheikh Makinde.
I still do.
Is he still going to run?
He's still going to run by the grace of God. But let us say this. It is very clear. I've said it again and again. Whoever is standing when we have our primaries and wins that presidential is going to be the next president of Nigeria, because that person will be giving Nigerians an option contrary to this administration, which had begun to undermine the progress of Nigerians and security of Nigerians and the unity of Nigeria. See, look, people, they're throwing bombs in the north, they're fighting everywhere. Nobody's happy. This is terrible. We are going through a period like we've never been before. What is the business of all governors going? What does that tell you? This one, now, if somebody is a criminal, allegedly, and you welcome that person into your party is the abode of criminals, refuge of criminals. And that's what, look what happened to Okowa.
And the allegations have not been cleared by law enforcement, yes.
Look, these are allegations, and they agree. For instance, one of the conditions that we understand they're giving Bala Mohammed is that he should go and apologize to Tinubu's son, because his son said palliatives is not what we need in the north. We need substantive, sustainable development plans. He's going to apologize for that. Come on. So, look.
Let's talk about something else.
Sorry to butt in. So, you said one of the conditions given to the governor is to apologize to the son of the president.
As we heard.
Okay.
So this is news off the grapevine. It's not yet confirmed.
Okay.
But let's talk about
something. It's not confirmed that Bala Mohammed is going. But from everything we've seen reports.
Let's talk about something else.
We've also heard that they will give him the cash donation they always give them. In the billions. That's what we heard. And it's not surprising. Do you know something else that's going on? Nigerians know this. The ministries that are being promised a budget to develop their ministry, nobody is getting the money. You know where the money is going?
No.
Bala Mohammed Tinubu is calculating, he's taking all the money, preparing for election. That's what he did when he was in Lagos. At that time, we used to call the governor now, Sanwo-Olu, he's an ATM. What did the man do? Instead of spending the government money on developing the state, they hoard the money for election so that they have billions. Now we are already hearing report by 500 billion has been set aside for traditional rulers in the north to support this presidency. And one of the traditional rulers said he would never do it. He was the one that sounded the alarm. Where is that money coming from?
And Imam.
When the Minister of Works doesn't have money to repair the roads, where is the money coming from?
Well, in all of this, let's talk about the most important factor, the sanctity of human life. I remember in the height of the Boko Haram insurgency during the Jonathan administration, President Tinubu was in opposition. And he said if the president cannot guarantee the lives of Nigerians and ensure their security, he should resign. Today, as we speak, we don't know if the presidency has changed his mind. Yesterday, there were multiple suicide bombing attacks in Maiduguri, multiple casualties in their 20s, or we don't have the casualty figures now, but it was quite a lot. If you could, I mean, as a member of the People's Democratic Party, what would be the responsible thing for the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces to do? Should he embark on a state visit to the United Kingdom or address the country?
Tinubu is on record, on video, saying that if in the first term you don't have electricity, if I come back for second term, please don't vote for me. Nigerians will not vote for you, Mr. President. They will not vote for you. You have shown that you are a callous, insensitive individual, concerned only about yourself, your friends, and your family. This is not the first time that we're having crisis in Nigeria. Look, we have never had peace since Buhari. It has been intensified by Tinubu's administration these last 2 years. Look, what is happening in the north now is happening all the time. But when you have a situation whereby the president has been going to France, going all over the country, whenever anything, it doesn't matter to him. So telling him now that he should do the right thing, for me, it's just tautology. We don't need that now. What we need is to prepare to oust this administration in 2027. And by the way, we are going to oust this administration because he has committed enough crime against man and God. And I tell you something, the international community is watching all of us. The way they used to rig election in the past is not going to happen in this election. I remember when Rufai was saying that if observers come and they don't do his bidding, they will go back in body bags. Well, the atmosphere in the world now has changed with the attitude of a Donald Trump. And he's not the only one. The Western powers are now concerned that, look, this is why they're talking about Christian genocide and so on. It is not just genocide. It is the level of insecurity and killings and bombings in Nigeria. Boko Haram, bandits, terrorists everywhere. It is not only in the north. The southwest is under siege. South-south problem. Southeast everywhere. Look, the country is in disarray. The only thing this president knows is how to win election by hook or crook, mainly by crook, you know, and that is it. So we are waiting for an opportunity to contest this election. And I got to tell you something. If the president thinks that he can deregister ADC and he will not have any opposition, and they've already dismantled Labour, and that they're trying to undermine us, and they've reduced us to, they've reduced us to 1 out of 12 or so. And they think now we are so weak. Just give us an opportunity to contest. And all of a sudden, you will see that the whole of Nigeria, we're not going to have a very high turnout, but we are going to have maybe 30, 40%, 35% turnout. That will be enough to win the election for the people, because the support will be overwhelming. And you know what's going on now? No matter what happens, if it is ADC that is standing, if it is NMPP that is standing, if it is PDP that is standing, you are going to seek some coalition. We are all going to come together and vote. Vote for an option to this administration.
But the way you sound, Dr. Pierce, is almost like anyone but the Tinubu administration. We've been there before, and most Nigerians have what you call buyer's remorse. It was anyone but President Goodluck Jonathan, then they ended up with the Buhari presidency, and many people said they regret it. So are we just going to go to the polls to remove President Bala Mohammed?
I don't say...
What's the plan and vision of the opposition?
Wait, I don't say anybody but Tinubu. Never. I have seen better days. I know. You say, no, anybody but Hitler. You will see somebody who will be worse than him. Somebody can come and be worse than Tinubu. I know that. But what we have now, given what we have now, the leadership of the parties we have now, and I can speak categorically for the PDP, we have a policy. Our values in the PDP are democratic values. Look, they railroaded Jonathan. It is after now we know that under Jonathan, under the PDP administration, we had efforts to curb corruption. DSS, EFCC, all of that under our administration.
Yeah, but they will point to cases of Diziani and Dasuki and...
that is true. That is true.
High-profile cases of corruption.
That is true. There were flaws in the government. I'm talking about, you're talking about just Jonathan's administration.
Yes.
I'm talking about both Jonathan and Obasanjo put together. Even under Jonathan, notice what was going on. It was his ministers, his failure to curb the excesses of his ministers that got him in trouble, not that he himself was corrupt. What we have now is that the head himself is the most corrupt. The president is so corrupt and so confused and so wrong.
What evidence do you have?
What evidence do I have?
Mr. President is corrupt.
Anybody who lies about his age is corrupt. Anybody whose background, school you went to, we don't know. Look, the man said he's 72, his first daughter is 62, so he had his daughter at the age of 10. The president is a fraudster. He has a bad record. Let us assume that is only allegation. He has allegation of pleading guilty to money laundering and drug trafficking in America. Otherwise, why would he forfeit $450,000? That is plea bargain. If you plead bargain, you have accepted guilt. Is that not so?
Okay, all right. That's a strong allegation, Mr. Pierce. But then again, we would always, like we do, balance this up. We've always had the APC members join us here as well, the chieftains, and they will tell you that that is not.
I wish you could bring them, let us talk face to face.
We will do that because we're having a scorecard of how the APC has fared so far in the past 3 years, because they're going to clock 3 years in just a few months' time, and hopefully would have the opposition here as well to discuss.
Anybody who wins the presidential primaries of the PDP is going to promote the values of the PDP. We are the party of restructuring. We are the party of fairness in Nigeria. It was under the PDP that Nigeria had the highest GDP, more than South Africa, for the first time in history. It was under Jonathan that we had a peaceful administration where there were no political prisoners. Look, at least we're not perfect, but compared to where we are now, you can say that the PDP is a Mother Teresa.
Well, the PDP, as we wrap things up right now, because our time is up, the PDP is faced with a stiff challenge now. It's looking like extinction is coming closer to the doorpost of the PDP. And I know that that would be a situation where you don't want it to happen. But there are fears.
We have a national working committee in place. We have a national chairman, national secretary, national public secretary, 14-member working committee.
Recognized?
Oh, yes.
Recognized by
it's working.
the law.
It was working.
Just to wrap things up.
It was working.
I want us to wrap things up.
It was recognized by a court from Ibadan, from Kintola. It was a motor show, the corrupt judge who said that we shouldn't go to convention. We went to convention because we had legal backing to go to convention. So now everything will be settled. Everything will be settled
in the Supreme Court.
The Supreme Court.
Okay, just to wrap things up, we don't have time again. The Wike camp, I mean, imagine we have to call them camp, as it were. As journalists, it's a tough one for us. But the Wike camp is planning its convention very soon. The countdown is on. You had your convention. It's been declared null and void, especially by the courts. Now you're going to the Supreme Court. Is there any chance that... Is there any chance?
By one court.
By one court, yes, by one court. Until you get to the Supreme Court, the apex court of the land.
Validated by another court.
Yes, until you get to the apex court of the land to eventually let us know. Yes, to let us know what the final situation is.
When it goes to convention, if it was not for the backing of this president, who wants to use Wike to control everything, Wike should not exist at all, because which party is going to convention? I ask you. Wike is not a member of the PDP.
I wanted to ask a question.
He's not a member of the PDP. Look, let me tell you, one of the greatest flaws in the system of the INEC, and one of the greatest crimes that it will commit against Nigerians, is to keep giving a Wike attention. A person who is not a member of any party, which party is he going to do convention on that?
At the end of the day, the court will decide what party. Whilst you are of the opinion that he's not a member of the People's Democratic Party, the matter is still...
The court has no right to tell us who our members will be. Nobody.
Well,
nobody.
I know we're out of time.
Nobody has a right to tell any political party who its members or leaders will be.
So
and we have a precedence in the court between INEC and SDP. When SDP submitted his list of leaders, INEC rejected it.
That the court does not meddle in political affairs.
The Supreme Court said,
yes.
And that's why we are hopeful.
You don't...
Okay.
That
when we meddle in political party
affairs. Yes, it's an affair of the party.
Right.
So we are hopeful that Supreme Court will not commit a crime.
What we have to do is to invite you again, and then invite an APC member.
Yeah, we're having a scorecard.
More robust conversation where we hear from both sides of the
They won't come.
They will come.
They will come. They will come.
They will.
I mean, New Central, we're known to be very fair.
They do. We've had that before.
Come.
We'd love to have that. Mr. Adetukumbo PS, thank you so much for joining us. Wish People's Democratic Party all the best. I mean, we want the PDP to thrive because we want a healthy opposition. The PDP, the APC, the ADC, all the political parties having their representation, having their right to freedom of association, so that our democracy should be able to boast of, fairness and freeness of some sort. We're going to break now. When we come back, we have more conversations. Please stay with us.
Hello, welcome back to Breakfast Central. It is now time for us to look at the newspaper front pages, and join us for analysis on this. We have the publisher of the niche newspaper, one who we respect so much because of his intellect and contribution to journalism in Nigeria, Mr. Ikechukwu Amechi. Let's not waste time with the accolades.
The accolades. There's so much to talk about.
So much to unpack.
Let's put the first paper. Good morning, Mr. Amechi. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Always my pleasure. Good
Always
morning,
a pleasure
Nigerians.
to have you.
Yeah.
And we are going to be very angry this morning, so let's get to
this Nigeria.
This Nigerian newspaper. Big story. When there was a bombing yesterday at 7 p.m., the big story this morning is Tinubu takes Nigeria's reform drive to the UK.
What paper is that?
This is this Nigerian.
It can never be niche newspaper.
It is boost for investors' confidence in our economy, says Minister Idris. Oil surge offers revenue growth. Abuja-Kaduna train collision under probe as NRC confirms injuries. Bullying. Errant students' parents to be charged to court, says Edo. Great one. Abuja, a no-go area for bandits. FCT minister says no country is entirely crime-free. Then at the bottom right corner, we see explosions rock Maiduguri as terrorists strike city suburb. Did I not say this thing at the start of the conversation?
Just a little corner.
Just a little corner to the right, which should have been a bigger story.
As editor-in-chief, I mean, you were spoiled for choice yesterday. I'm sorry that word sounds to be derogatory at this term, but in context, I don't mean it to be that way. You were, let me say, you had options, multiple options of big stories. You had the train collision, you have the explosion to also look into. Which of them would have made the header?
Just before he answers that, I want us to also see the big stories on The Guardian as well as The Punch. Okay. On The Guardian, the big story is international travel squeeze, tickets spike by 100% as airlines cancel flights. That is a big story. And then another big story on The Punch, federal government activates evacuation plan as Middle East crisis worsens. Meanwhile, we have our own crisis here in Nigeria. Over to you, Mr. Michi.
You know, to answer the question you asked, if I had to choose which story will lead the paper, definitely I will go for the bombing in Maiduguri. But you know the problem we have in this country now, and editors are not immune to that
influence
problem, is that we've gotten to a stage in this country where the death of 20 people, 30 people, no longer means anything. If, for instance, the death toll from the 3 incidents yesterday in Maiduguri, I understand about 24 or 27 people were killed, hundreds injured. In any other country that is not at war, in quotes, and 24 people are killed, more than suicide bombers simply went to University of Maiduguri Teaching Hospital Gate, the Market Square, and others, and simply killed that many people. The whole country will shut down. The president or the prime minister of the country will be addressing the country this morning. But here we are celebrating that President Tinubu is, people have been capturing it in so many days in historic visit, the first in 37 years, and you ask yourself.
But I mean, this is our constituency. We're media. The president's #1 media handler, the special advisor on media publicity and strategy, posted 6 hours ago.
7 hours now.
About 7 hours ago, long after the incidents in Maiduguri happened, he was expressing President Tinubu's birthday wish to Governor Mba of Enugu State. What does that, I mean, what level of desensitization is that?
I don't want to worry myself again about what Mr. Bayo Onanoga is doing. Perhaps he has a job to do, and he's doing it the best way he can. But like I said earlier, the truth of the matter is that as a people, we have become so, how do I put it? We no longer value human life. It means nothing to us as a people, as a country. And like I was saying before you came in, people are talking about historic moment 37 years after. And you ask yourself, who was that person that visited, that paid a visit to Britain 37 years ago?
Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, military ruler.
A military dictator. A military dictator that the British establishment hosted a military dictator to a state visit should tell us that there's nothing really big in all this. But a government that thrives on propaganda, that thrives on all manner of things, a government that does not want to deal with the issues of the day, of course, has an escape, as it were, that President Bala Mohammed Tinubu is going to London. Some people have even suggested that, look, put it the other way around. If Starmer was to visit Nigeria, and on the eve of that visit, suicide bombers, terrorists attacked, and 23 people were killed on the streets of London.
Or 10.
Or 5.
Or 5.
Or even 1.
Will he still embark on that trip today?
Never, never.
So we have our priorities upside down, and as long as we continue to glorify inanities, I don't see how we're going to get out of this. Last week or so, three commanders, high-ranking military officers were killed in this country. What did we do? How were they buried?
The irony is Mr. President's communication when Anthony Joshua got into that unfortunate accident where he lost 2 of his mates. Mr. President tweeted about it twice in 6 hours. Now, Nigerians have died, scores of Nigerians, and it's absolute silence from the Federal Ministry of Communication, the advisors, nothing yet from the presidency. It's heartbreaking.
I mean, since you've brought in the Anthony Joshua angle, we have the driver of the vehicle who unfortunately was, involved in the accident as well. His trial still continues. Our correspondent is joining us from outside the court. We have Niyi joining us to bring updates regarding how far the case has progressed. Good morning, Niyi. Thank you for joining us this morning. We hear that you're outside the court. What's the status of the case and, what are we expecting today? Niyi, are you there with us?
All right. To call him by his full botanical name.
Ibalani Omoni. Please go ahead.
So we're live here at the Magistrate Court in Shagam, and today is the criminal case set for definite hearing for Anthony Joshua's driver, Mobolaji Johnson. And today we're hoping that today was going to be a major determinant to know if the case was going to go on or how long it will go on for. Today, the proceedings were supposed to just be about the DPP making sure that the legal advice has gotten to the justice, and of course the justice reads out the legal advice, then the direction follows. But on getting to court today, the DPP came and said they just got an additional information this morning that they need to update the courts, and of course this will directly impact what has been written in the legal advice. So because of that, they need some time, a short date, and the call for adjournment. That was how short today's proceeding was. And for the defendant's counsel, he was quite, although he couldn't oppose, he agreed to the adjournment, but he felt like the state is wasting precious time of the court because this has gone long for so. I think this is the 3rd month now they've been on the case, and now till April again, which makes it 4 months this case has been on, and they're hoping that the next time the DPP, which is Department of Directorate of Public Prosecution, comes here, they come in with all the information they need, then is added, the legal advice is updated, and of course they know what happens from there.
Okay. All right, so can you also confirm to us if the driver, Mr. Kayode, was there this morning, or did you only get to see his lawyers?
I can't hear you if you can hear me, but I can't.
Well, I'm hoping that we can reconnect with Niyi once more to continue that conversation. But let's go back to the papers. And don't forget, you can also call in. The number will be there on the screen where you can react to either of the stories on the front pages. Okay, before we proceed to the next story on the front page, Niyi, if you can hear us, my question to you again is and was, were you able to spot the driver there? Were you able to spot the driver or his lawyers? Did they make it to court this morning?
He has been available in court all through the proceedings. The modus operandi is usually driving in this car, just as you can see right in front of me. His lawyer drives this particular Toyota car, and most times you can see it's a little bit tinted, and he just comes here very early and makes his way to the court here. But this morning they actually tried to make a disguise for him. Most times we miss him when he goes into the court, but today we were prepared. We had to station here right in front, and we were able to see him. He didn't come in with the car as usual. He just, this guy wore a black cap, a black T-shirt, and just walked in from another side while his lawyer walked away from another location. So yeah, they've been in court. They've been attending the court proceedings. Both him and his lawyer, they've been present all through the court proceedings.
All right, thank you very much, Niyi. We'll continue to connect with you to find out what the next steps are regarding that case. Let's now come back into the studio to continue with the papers, Joe.
Let's go straight to, okay, this Nigeria still looks very fresh. We've talked about the explosion. We've talked about the president's reaction and so on. I think let's move on. But I'd love to hear his thoughts on the erring students' parents to be charged to court, the Edo State video. I know you saw it.
Parents?
They said the parents. The parents will be charged to court alongside them.
For lack of home training. And they need to get the parents of the bandits and terrorists to.
Different.
No, I don't. Anyway, let's hear from Mr. Amici, he's the expert here.
Well, I don't know how I'm going to be an expert in that case because, of course, we've seen what is going on in the US now, in most cases, when these students take guns bought for them by their parents and go there and do mass shootings, the trend now is that their parents are also charged.
But that one, because the parents had the responsibility of ensuring that the kids did not have access to the gun.
Yes. So I am trying to say, perhaps that is what they are copying, because we are copycats. I don't see how, yes, you could say the kids did not get home training and all that, but what if
it's a moral issue.
Yeah, but what if they got and refused
how do you
to live by what their parents taught them? So how do you charge a parent to court because the son or daughter was involved in
lieu of the child's behavior? That's what the lawyer
just like when you now you misbehave, they will now come to arrest your parents instead of arresting the person that committed the act.
I don't think it makes sense to me. Even if you say that the students are underage, that also does not give you the right
for the parents
to go and, because it was not their parents, unless there is a proof, evidence to show.
That the president said, that as a president, that the parents said, beat this person.
Exactly.
I want you to be a Tyson in future, or Anthony Joshua.
Exactly. If not, I don't see how the parents could be successfully charged or convicted for actions taken by their children, and not at home, far away in the school. If it was that this bullying took place at home, you could say, okay, that the father was there and did nothing to stop it. So I don't see how that is going to, at the end of the day, how anybody is going to get any conviction that the actions of students, even if they are minors, that the parents must be held responsible for what they did, because the parents may have done all they could not to bring up their child, to inculcate in him the values that should govern his day-to-day activities. Where the child fails to abide by those values, what can a parent do?
Exactly. I mean, at the end of the day, they are juvenile courts for a reason. They should handle that.
I was going to ask you.
We can't really. Yeah, they are under 18. If they are, I assume they are under 18. They should be made to face the law.
So what sort of sentencing do you get in juvenile court?
I'm not the one that is. I'm not the.
Yeah, but under a framework, and I'm asking you as a legal luminary.
When we get there, please, we need to talk about Mr. Oyedele, that has been sworn in as Minister of State for Finance. He has had a very successful run with the taxation and the introduction.
Successful is relative. It depends on how you interpret it.
Fair, but many would argue that they understand the spirit of what he was trying to do, even though at the very dying minute, the discrepancies in what was gazetted and all of that.
Till to date,
I
wanted to, sorry to butt in, I'm so sorry. Do you have the copy? I don't know if Mr. Mechi has gotten the copy the true copy of the true certified copy.
A certified true
copy of the gazetted tax reform.
The truth of the matter is that there is none. Because, of course, the allegation was made on the floor of the National Assembly, I think the House of Representatives, that what was gazetted was not what was passed. It was doctored. So, and again, you ask yourself, how can a system run so fraudulently that even laws passed in the National Assembly get doctored along the line before it is gazetted? So which one do you now follow? And don't forget that that allegation has not been satisfactorily addressed. People still believe that what came out was the version that the presidency, the executive arm of government, wanted not to come out. Then where is the National Assembly? What is the role of the National Assembly? What does the legislature do if budgets are doctored, laws, tax laws are doctored, everything. And you ask yourself, how can a system, how can a country continue running on this level of fraud that in other climes where governance is taken seriously, whoever is found wanting in situations like this ought to be punished. But here nobody gets punished because what is done with a tacit endorsement of those who ought to punish.
Okay, so now that you're obviously not as pleased with how the tax laws have been passed, right? Oyedele, that seems to be the most recent thing we can recognize him for. Now he's been made the Minister of State for Finance. How do you reckon that this would impact his time? What are your expectations of his performance? And, you know, let's just get your general sense of it all.
Oyedele did well in terms of how he argued the tax bill, how he presented it. You know, at a stage, he was the face of government.
The harmonization, everything.
Because he was the only person who was coming out to defend, who was coming out to clarify, who was coming out to throw more light when people asked the questions. So he did well. It does not matter whether people accept the tax laws as good, but he did well. Now, the question we have to ask is that, and again, I am not surprised that the president appointed him the Minister of State for Finance. In fact, the speculation out there is that eventually he become the Minister of Finance.
What will happen to the current one?
You know, when the current one,
Mr. Wale Edu.
Mr. Wale Edu contradicted the president
on the 10%, on the percent,
on
reaching our revenue in August.
Target.
Then,
when the president came out in September to say that the federal government had met its revenue target in August.
More borrowing.
Wale Edu, whether he did not hear the president say that, came out to say, look, out of the 40 trillion, we've only realized about 10. Immediately after that, you know, some responsibilities that were his.
Yeah, it was reshuffled and taken off.
We are taken away and given to the lady who was then the Minister of State for Finance.
Who is now in her third ministry.
Who is now her third ministry in two
who has been
years.
seconded to the Ministry of Budget and National Planning. So Taiwo Oyedele was brought in. There are people out there who strongly believe that at the end of the day, even if Wale Edu succeeds in serving out this term of the president, he may not come in if Bala Mohammed Tinubu wins
re-elected
a second term. He may not come in as the Minister of State, and people like somebody like Taiwo Oyedele may be elevated. It is speculation out there. I'm not saying that is what it is, but that is how much the president reckons with the job he has been able to do for his administration. And let's see, now it is implementation stage. Let's see how well, at the end of the day, the man, since he's now on the saddle, how well he's able to see through the law he helped in shaping.
Anyway, let's still stick to The Guardian. There's a story there. It broke out over the weekend. The commissioner in Lagos State and also the Lagos State governor, we did see him put a video on his social media page trying to showcase what the next steps are for Lagos State to clean Lagos.
Showing that cleanliness is next to godliness.
However, SAN, Senior Advocacy of Nigeria, Falana, and not forgetting to Adigboruwa, have faulted the reintroduction of what we know as environmental sanitation. The last I recall was that this sanitation was introduced as far back as 1984 by the late then military ruler known as President Muhammadu Buhari then. And I remember my parents mentioning then that those days, if you don't clean, they'll flog you. They go around with cane,
even have
flog
inspectors.
Yes, they flog people.
Inspectors.
And I witnessed that because we did. I mean, I'm not that old also, but we had environmental sanitation up until it was eventually, yes, 90s. I mean, I'm talking about the 90s. Yeah, from 90s, late 80s, from 80s down to 90s. Yes, Olive was able to witness that as well.
Managed to witness it as a baby.
Olive, can you hear Gbenga?
No, I refuse to hear him.
But what do you think about the reintroduction? It's been. I
think what Nafalana and Co are saying, that decision was stopped via a court judgment.
Yep.
That court order has not been set aside by a higher court. So you can't
reintroduce.
Wake up one day and simply say you are reintroducing without ensuring that the court order has been vacated.
So from the coverage of the event that happened, our correspondent was there. The Lagos State government says it wants to make it a partnership, that people should buy into it, that they're not going to restrict movement of people. And I believe the spirit of that court order was that the
restriction of movement
does not have a right to restrict people's movement. So, and I mean, look at Lagos today. There's nothing center of excellence about the environment when it comes to cleanliness. So that's why they feel, one last Saturday of the month, people should please come out as part of community service to clean their environment, because their environment is dirty.
Oh, dirty.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think it should take compulsion for people to clean their environment. A lot of things that we have done, military dictators, Muhammadu Buhari, war against indiscipline. You should go and file, you should go and do this, you should go and do that. In as much as discipline brings order to every society and the way things are done, but I don't think it should come via compulsion.
But we've tried other means, Mr. Amechi. Sorry to cut you in. You see in Alausa, and it's not good for tourists that are visiting Nigeria that, see a big label. Public defecation is prohibited. Fine, 50,000 naira. Somebody that can defecate in public, where is he going to get 50,000 naira from? I mean, that's the other option. And it's not working.
Well, the issue is that I don't also see how this is going to work. Even when we had that order in place, people were still defecating publicly. It didn't start because the court stopped it in the first place.
Yeah.
And it's not going to stop now that it has been reintroduced, particularly without compulsion. So it is I don't know what it is intended to do and how the cleaning up of the environment once every month, the last Saturday of the month, is actually going to clean up Lagos. Environmental sanitation is a serious issue. The government ought to also put it as
systems
together in cleaning up the environment. Look, when I was living in Cardiff, you see, every Saturday night or every Friday night, when you come out on Sunday morning, you see the streets littered. Young people who went to parties, coming out of the parties, they have all manner of, the streets are dirty. Before 12 noon, the whole environment will be sparkling once more.
Is it the people that...
City Council?
No. The council authorities, they will deploy these sweepers, machines, not human beings now. They will go around the city and they sweep machines. Technologically, those things are done. When we have people here who are on Ikorodu Road sweeping manually,
I'm exposed to accidents.
Exposed
danger,
danger every day. And in most cases, they complain that they are not paid as and when due.
They don't even wear reflective jackets, lots of them.
Even when they are not even paid commensurately. And you ask yourself, how can this continue? To what extent can this, what are they called, actually keep the environment clean? So when things are being done, deploying technology in all other places, we are still at that.
Appealing to Olive and Joe to come and sweep last Saturday.
I can't even lie to you. On Saturday morning when I'm supposed to be sleeping, early in the morning, if we don't have time to carry rake. I did that thing as a child. We all did it as children. But I'd rather pay for somebody
I remember when I saw, you know, my
I'm
wife
not
and I were
interested.
driving. My wife is not Nigerian, so I tried to save some things about Nigeria.
Well,
I don't
she's
want her
watching
to
you now,
see.
bro.
Then I saw that, I hope she's not watching. When I saw that public defecation is not allowed, I had to engage her in serious conversation just to distract her. I was just talking.
You know the one they should add as well? Not just public defecation, public urination. Because why will a full-grown man wear nice native senator? You wear senator, you wear suit, you now open your car, use the door, and you be urinating in front. And sometimes I will not be driving, I will see you. I'm on my full life.
Well, we unfortunately, we're out of time. But we're hoping to have the Honorable Commissioner join us here on Breakfast Central, Honorable Madito Kumbo Wahab. I like the reactions that are coming after this sanitation, and I can't wait. I hope he joins us because the questions I have is
Yeah, we've been on this for a long time.
Joe, you've always been pro-sanitation.
We've been on this for a long time.
I like it. You know what?
Do sanitation in your house, then you come to my house.
You know, when you look at countries like China and Japan, remember the World Cup?
It's
a culture.
And Senegal too.
Senegal. You even go to the streets. I watched a few documentaries. You see Japan clean. They have this rule of law. They train the children from school. Any paper you see on the floor,
you pick it up.
They do tests. It's part of their tests. They don't know. They said, but you know,
we used to do that.
Time is gone.
In primary school, they used to tell us to pick. It was part of the punishment. They would tell you to pick trash.
I remember Marua's time. There was baskets inside the bus. If you lick ice cream or eat donut and throw the paper, they say, calm down, everybody calm down.
I don't throw away dirty on the street.
You know, there's a law.
I throw in my car after eating, I keep everything inside the car until I get to the trash.
Yeah,
so I'm not going to lie to you that I'm not too excited about the idea.
Okay.
I will not. Anyway,
that's all we can take.
We continue to await statements from the presidency and based on the London trip.
I mean, just as Amicha said, we're expecting that he addresses Nigerians as well.
It's beyond statements, it's actually action. Final comment on YouTube as we wrap up. Lenin Ekwere says, what APC members are doing against the opposition, if action is not taken, it will generate to when people used to be, I know. I'm not sure I can read that one out. Thank you so much to our virtual audience.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Sometimes I really wish you can be our analyst.
He says that you are the pulse of Nigerian journalism, that that you said it all, and you asked, who was the president that the UK who said 37 years ago, a dictator, that there is nothing spectacular about this.
It's not a big deal.
Anyway, thank you for all the comments. We'll be back again same time tomorrow. Thank you for the engagements. The conversations continue. Do not stop. You can go watch the previous interviews if you've missed them. They'll be posted on YouTube, News Central TV Live. Jasiri comes up next, and I'm wrapping up because I don't want Benga to say anything unnecessary. Benga, you're not wrapping up.
Director, please switch off.
Director, please,
put it up.
See you tomorrow.
Bye.
Bye.